goodness, y'all. We have Laura Holt with us. I have gotten to know Laura because she's in the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. Didn't know her before this, and now that I know her, she's one of those people that you're like, how did I live life without you, without your
Oh,
personality and your heart? I mean that. And we got to go to an event together where we were roommates, and just
mhm.
getting to know Laura on a different level was just so beautiful and good for the soul. So I'm really happy that you guys are going to get to know Laura today. And Laura, we're going to start with where do you live, and then tell me what you do in the industry, in the film industry.
Okay. So I live in Lynchburg, Virginia. I'm an actress. I haven't ventured out into any of the behind the camera jobs within the industry, but I am an actress. I've done short films, feature films, and background work.
Cool.
So
And what would you say you officially got started acting?
I started acting on the stage in 2017. So
How'd you even
uh,
find out about the auditions for that?
Well, what happened was that a friend at church bought an old building in town, renovated it. She had theater background, so she wanted to open a community theater. And so in 2014, she opened the theater. Well, me being the person that would say, I would never be able to get a role. you know, I didn't start auditioning when she opened the theater, but I did get my daughter involved because it's like that would be something really cool for her to do. And I would just do back behind the scenes stuff. So if they needed a stage manager, or I helped in the little gift shop that they had, different things like that. And then in 2016, they were rehearsing for the Christmas play that they were presenting, and my daughter was in that. She was not old enough to drive, so I would take her, and I would just hang out. And what happened was that every rehearsal, somebody was missing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I finally asked the director, who is the owner of the theater, I said, would you like for me to read for whoever's missing? And she said, well, if you want to. I said, okay. So instead of just sitting on the sidelines reading, I would get out on I had been watching enough of the rehearsals to know, okay, this person does this character this way. And so I would get out on the stage and do the character as that person had been doing it. And it, I think I filled in for just about everybody that was in the show. And after about 2 weeks, the owner looked at me and she said, you really need to be acting.
Oh,
And I was kind of, a little bashful. I was like, well, there will be other shows. So in January of 2017, they auditioned for On Golden Pond. I auditioned for Chelsea, the daughter. I was cast in that and just found this absolute passion for acting.
yeah.
And for me, when I step on stage or I step on set, I can't really describe it, but it's just, I don't know if it's an adrenaline rush or what it is, but it lasts for the whole time that, if we're doing a play, the whole play, and then about half an hour after the play is done, then I'm going to crash, and it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, I am really tired now. But it's just that feeling. You
Yeah.
know, my absolute favorite role was Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker. Well, I was in my 40s, so that character's in her she's 20,
Yeah.
so I was way too old for the role. But everybody told me, said, you carried it off well. You carried yourself young. It was during that play that the owner, the same woman that said, you really need to be acting, looked at me and said, if you were not tied to this area with work and family, you could make it anywhere.
Oh, amazing.
And it was just like, could I do film?
Yeah.
So Suzanne Jennings was already involved with the theater, and she and I had developed a friendship, which has just gotten closer and closer. We call each other bestie, ride or die. We live about 3 miles from each other, and we are each other's cheerleader, encourager, everything.
Mhm.
And so I knew that Suzanne had been in the film industry back when back in like the 80s, she was uh, out in LA. And and then I knew she had done some film in Lynchburg. And so I asked her, I said, how would I pursue film? And she said, go to Liberty University. They have a cinematic arts program. She said, get involved with their thesis films in that. And the first year that I did that, I was in 5 short
That's
films.
awesome.
Yeah. And so every year since then, I have done at least a couple.
Hmm.
And so last year I did 2. The year before that, I did 7. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how do you find the time to do that and to work full time? It's like, well, you make the time
Mhm.
to do what you
That is
want.
one of the really great ways to get started is to find a local university because they are
Mm-hmm.
going to school for these things. It's either cinematic arts or RTF program or whatever they call it at that place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get involved in their projects and they find an actor they can trust and that does well,
Mm-hmm.
they will call you again and again because it's like
Right.
not many people are thinking of the universities as far as actors. Not many are thinking of universities.
Right.
They're thinking about agents and Hollywood and movies, but they're not thinking about
Mm-hmm.
short film in their local area. So that
Right.
is so smart that you ladies have done that.
Now they're starting to reach out to me on some of them. Some of them I see out there and I will audition, but I've already been contacted by 2 for this fall. Right as I was waiting for our meeting to start, I got an email from another one that had reached out. And I just feel like God led me to acting and that I should use that talent to bring these stories to life. Liberty University is a Christian university, but not all of the films have Christian themes. But the ones that I have been involved in have just been really gritty and true to life.
Where
I'm just
can we watch you in any of these?
probably some of the older ones
Yeah.
uh, would be available to share. Some of the more recent ones I know are
Yeah.
going on the festival circuit, and they will
Okay.
tell you, don't share those.
Yeah.
So
Well, at least we can go check out your resume and see what you've done. Okay, what has been one of the biggest struggles that you've had as an actor up to this point?
I really struggle to find roles in my age range, the
Mm.
mid 40s to early 50s, although I'm starting to see a few more. But I really, it's so few that I see. It's either up to 45 or over 60. So
Um,
it's like, that just leaves me right out.
okay, so what are some, and you mentioned Liberty University, what are some tools and resources that have helped you in your career? Videos, websites, trainings, people, groups, whatever.
I forget how I was introduced to Tina Gallo, and she's got Mastering the Method. And of course, it was around COVID, so she started offering virtual training. So I did 1 or 2 12-week sessions with her. The theater actually does a lot of different workshops. We've done accents and dialects, and that lady is just phenomenal. She actually is a linguist, and
Cool.
she has her own podcast. I've gone to some conferences and things like that.
Awesome. Okay, so being a Christian in the film industry, is there anything that you do or don't do because of your faith?
Well, I do try to focus more on Christian films, but I'm not opposed to secular films. Now, that being said, if I'm looking through a casting call and I see LGBTQ theme, I'm just going to pass right on by that because I don't agree with that as a Christian. I don't think that that's right, and I'm not going to support that
Mhm.
um, in in my acting. I'm not going to do any nudity, so it's like make sure that on any of the sites I check, no nudity. I had one time I submitted for it. They sent back an audition, and it's like, oh yeah, well, there'll be nudity and there'll be simulated, sex, and it's like, oh, and so I wrote back to him and said, I'm very sorry, you did not disclose this ahead of time. I don't do nudity. Good luck with your
Yeah.
and then I'm not going to curse
Hmm.
in film. One of the first films that it was an independent film that I was cast in, a horror movie.
Hmm.
And when I was cast as a mother, and get on set, and the director's like, "Well, you can say this, and f bomb and all of this and all that." And I'm just looking at him, and he's like, "What?" I say, "Well, I hear you, but I don't use those words."
Hmm.
And he said, "Then do it like you want to.
Good.
Do you." When we finished the scene, everybody's like, "Wow, you did a great job." And the director looked at me and said, yeah, that was a great scene, and see, you were able to do it the way you wanted to.
Yeah.
So, that is a testimony. I mean, we're supposed to be set aside, and
Mhm.
we are supposed to be different.
Yeah.
And people say, well, there's you look at a Christian and you look at a non-Christian, you don't see a lot of difference.
Mhm.
Well, what is it then that compels the non-Christian to find out any more about Christianity? Okay, well, you say you're a Christian, but you're no different from me. So what's in Christianity for me?
Right.
What I do is to try to find really good stories with really good messages that I feel honored to bring to the screen.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I like that. What's a mistake that you've learned so far that you don't want others to have to experience?
Definitely that one film, even though I think there's a positive in there, because I think it's like, well, I stood up for my beliefs and maybe made an impact. um, don't be so anxious to be cast.
Mhm.
If it were now, several years in, I would pass that script right on by. I would pass that casting call right on by.
A lot of us probably have a project like that we did
Yeah,
in the beginning, and we're like, oh, why did I do that? But I think sometimes
yeah.
you have to try something and you have to do something to realize I didn't like that. I don't want to do that again, but I wouldn't have known if I hadn't done it.
I really don't have much interest in doing horror at all, because I think for the most part it's just gratuitous violence, and I'm not interested in that. But I did background work on a Hulu series that was shot here in Virginia. It was called Dope Sick,
Mhm.
and it was actually based on a book by an investigative journalist in the Roanoke, Virginia area, and it was about the opioid crisis.
Mhm.
And so, it was true to life, but I am honored to have worked on that, because it brought visibility
Mhm.
to opioid addiction.
Yeah. Okay, switching gears a little bit. What made you join the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite?
With Suzanne Jennings being my best friend, she was already a member of the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite, and she's like, "Come on, you've got to join." When she told me more about it, it's like, this is perfect. This is what I've been looking for. It's a group of Christian actresses. We're all seeking the same thing. We're looking to honor the Lord with the acting abilities that we have been blessed with, and like-minded women to provide support and encouragement. So
Mhm.
that really drew me uh, to the suite.
And how long have you been in?
I think I just celebrated a year.
A year. Oh, yeah. Any hesitations about joining? Was there anything that you're like, I'm not sure?
No,
Oh,
no,
good.
I didn't hesitate at all.
How has the suite been beneficial?
Just the encouragement. I've shared before that I don't get a whole lot of encouragement from family members. My parents like coming to the theater and watching me act, but they, when I first started pursuing film, they were not supportive. My mom told me I was too old. My dad said, "Well, if you just want to do something around here, that's fine, but you're not going to Hollywood." And so really just the encouragement that I have found within the suite has been so helpful. Um, and I will tell you, with as busy as I have been, I've missed several meetings, and when I was able to get back on to a couple of them, it just really made a difference for me to feel more confident about continuing to pursue. I mean, there was a period of time, the beginning of this year, it's like I don't know that I'm going to even continue to pursue film. It's like I wasn't seeing a lot in my age range or even anything that really interested me. And, so just really that encouragement. I did look at an email that came through from Faith Based Casting, and it's like, oh, that seems like a really interesting film. And I submitted for it and was cast in it. So I mean, it's a feature film about spiritual warfare, and so it's like, it's just so funny because you're like this close to giving it up, and if you don't have those support systems,
Mhm.
then you may miss what God really wanted you to do.
Yeah.
And going to the event last year where we all got to ring together and really get to know each other, that was such an encouragement. It was there that I shared, like, I felt like I was a fake. It's like, well, I'm acting, but I'm not really an actress because I work full time, and then other people work full time too. You work full time, and it's just it's lies that Satan tells us to try to keep us separated from that. And so, you know, having the suite to come together and talk about things and realize, oh wait, I'm not alone in these things. Oh, this is kind of normal, in the industry, or normal for an actor, or it really helps.
Good. Yeah, I love that. And then just for anybody that's watching the event that Laura's talking about, we all were at a festival rooming together, somehow ended up on the dining room floor, everybody crying,
Mm-hmm.
nodding.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful and we loved it. And it was so good. And then the same at the retreat that we had, it was a bunch of women in a circle having great conversation and
Mm-hmm.
praying for each other, crying, snotting, all of the good stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so worth it. Okay, final question. So for somebody who's wanting to get into acting, but they're feeling stuck or they're not sure how to get started, what would you tell them?
The biggest thing for me, I always encourage people, go to your local community theater. You can get in the door, learn acting. Yes, it's completely different. Stage acting is completely different from film acting, because with stage you have to be bigger and louder, whereas with film it's just so much more intimate because the camera's right there. You don't have to be big or loud, but they always need people, and even if you think, well, I don't know that I want to act, there's so many other things that you can do. Just take the step and don't worry about, oh my gosh, I'm 30, I'm 50, I'm 6, whatever, it's too late for me. No, it is never too late. And fear keeps us from doing a lot of things, and a lot of times the fears are really unfounded. So
Totally. Yeah.
take the step.
Good stuff, Laura. I love it. I'm going to put your Facebook. Do you have Facebook and Instagram?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to put those in the description box so anybody can follow you. And
Okay.
thank you for all that you shared today, because I think a lot of people are probably in a similar boat of
Mm-hmm.
not feeling supported, not feeling like they should do it, all of that. So,
Yeah.
so much.